Welcome back. Let's do the fetch MCP server. Here we go. And what I also just really want to cover really briefly is, let me actually duplicate here. Let's go through, just in case that you don't really recall, the responses API. So this is like the simplest one where you just cover text. Let's start with that. Here we go. Call the OpenAI API with the responses endpoint. I'm going to call it response one because we're going to have multiple client dot responses dot create parentheses model equals GPT 4.1. And then we have the model and we have an input, right? Input. And this is a scenario that I have regularly, which is, or, for those who don't know, I always do a bit of advertisements, but I'm trying to build this tiny startup for restaurants. And what I have is meetings with restaurants. And it's very important that you are prepared for the meetings. So what we do, for instance, let me actually give you an actual restaurant. One of my favorite restaurants ever. It's from my hometown. Feel free to bookmark it. Absolutely delicious. And, they do something which is very popular, but nevertheless, it's like, this is a web browsing, find information about the restaurant. Rui dos Leitões in Coimbra, Portugal. Here you go. So, something like this. This would be like, the simplest of approaches. But we're not doing just that. So this would just be a regular ChatGPT. What we want is to have the MCP server. Right. Let me also clean this up. And we would have here, it's through tools, which is currently not here available. So we need to have a deeper look here at the documentation. We have tools here. And if we want to have tools, the best one is really to approach it through the remote MCP, through this part. And here we go. Tools equals, and we start with the square brackets. Okay, let's start again. Square brackets. Here we go. If I look at it here, let me see file search. You also see here the square brackets and then the dictionary, because inside the dictionary, what we're doing is that we are including all of the different parameters that are required. The first one is the type. Let me bring this here. Type. So this is always the first one. Doesn't matter where you are. For instance, you have file search. Type would be file search. We have web search. In this case, so type is the MCP, comma. Then here we go a bit deeper. We know what we're doing. Then we have server label, and this is the name of it. In this case, it's called fetch. And then we would have here the server URL. So where exactly is this located? Server URL. Here we go. This is where we go into the documentation per se. Let me see if I can find it here. And let me have a look. And using, so configure, not here, also not here. This is GitHub. Okay, let me go to the other link. And this one. Wait, I got the same one. Let's try this one here as some of the MCP servers that you can give this a try. Here you can find the fetch one. So this is the URL. Let me copy it. And here we go, inside double quotes. And then what you can do is this require approval, right? Require approval, which for now we're going to include never. Here we go. We have the inputs, we have the tools, we have the model, and I think we're good to go. Let me organize this. Looks fantastic. There you go. I'm going to shift enter. And let's see what we can do with this. My goal here now is that we are now going to explore the output step by step and display the output. This is a command that I would strongly encourage you to know. So mark down, and then we go to the response one and the output text. This is the easiest one where you can immediately get the outputs, right? So this is the actual outcome that is coming. Okay, now let's explore the output. I want us, so we go to response one. By the way, everything that is here is in even greater detail in this model response. So this returns this response object, everything that is here, for instance, output text that I showed it to you, everything is here in this response object. I'm going to show you how this works step by step. What is happening here is that we have the response, and for instance, we have an ID. This is important when you are having multi-turn conversations, which we'll do when it was created. Errors, incomplete details, instructions, metadata, the model, object, output. And it is in this output that we are going to focus on mostly. This output is a list, as you can see by the square brackets. So let's explore. Output number one. These are just the general details of what we're doing. Okay, MCP list tools. We have an ID. We have the server label, the tools. What did we use? These are just, just general things that happen. These were the inputs. Then we have, okay, we went to the MCP. This is the output number one. The MCP, what it did is that it searched on TripAdvisor. And honestly, what happened is that it was like, please enable JavaScript and disable any ad blocker. So what happened here, and this is something that kindly to guide the AI when you look at things like this, is that, this TripAdvisor thing did not work out so well. So you can also be specific, find information on Google Maps and, social media, like Reddit, about the restaurant. Okay, we try again. And we explore the output once more. This usually takes a few seconds. So if the output 0 is what we provided, so the MCP, the label, and so on, the 1 is, okay, what the MCP did with our information, with our inputs, and so on. And then if this is what we got out of it, so the information, then number 2 is what was the actual output. And then if we truly want to have a look, we would see here, we would go to dot content. Here we go. And then dot content is once more a list. Here we go. But have in mind that this list just has one level. So it's just one. And then we would then go to dot text. We have response output text, we have annotations, we have text, and we have type here. And this is it. And then what we would do is markdown. So if we actually have a look at this output text is the equivalent to all of this. So this is absolutely the same. And this is how we are using here the fetch and as well the responses. One thing that you can also see here, so wait, not like this, but what tools were used. and then you would go to response1 dot tools. And here we would see that we have the fetch. That is it. Now let's explore here a bit more. Let's say, hey, I'm always want to approve, right? So let's see what comes out of this. I'll see you in the next video.